Hello, this is Kathy McAllister, T-Wife Creations. I was going to show you some frames that I was working on this weekend, just to give you some ideas of what you might be able to do. That a lot of people, when they're working with frames, they think, oh, it should be natural wood, it should be kind of a brown color or a white color or a gray color, and they don't always think about, well, it could actually be a brighter color. Now I'm working with a frame that is MDF wood, but it could be birch or whatever material, raw material that you're able to find. I cut this one for myself, so maybe you know a laser cutter, or maybe you are a laser cutter. If you can't get a frame like this that's the natural wood, you also can purchase a ready-made wooden frame, not a resin frame, not a plastic frame, but a wooden frame. You can sometimes work with resin and plastic. In both cases, you would want to sand off the original surface, not fully, but you just need to rough it up. And then you can put a thin coat of gesso on it and still use some of these techniques to create, a different kind of color for your frame. I do it all the time. If I get a ready-made frame, a lot of times they come in dark brown, and I'm like, I don't want it to be dark brown. I want to lighten it up. And so I'll play with it. And gesso is your friend. Sanding first, not fully, just enough to rough up the surface. Then a light coat of gesso. Allow that to dry, and then you can start doing some of these techniques. So we're going to work on this one, but I wanted to show you how I did this. And the pink that I used is Vintage Pink, and this is really useful when you're trying to distress a frame. You don't want it just to be a pinky pink. You want it to have kind of a look that feels a little vintagey. So you can see there's a bit of highlighting with milk chocolate, and then I did, well, it's floating with milk chocolate. You could call it shading as well. It's just not the dark shading that you tend to think, oh yeah, I'm going to get out some burnt umber or asphaltum. And then what I did was I brightened up the centers with some dragon fruit and fuchsia pop, which are very similar. And what I was trying to do was, I wanted my frame to be boho, but I didn't want to pick up any more green, and I didn't want it just to be brown. I didn't want it to be gold. So I wanted to pick up some of the pink. And you could have gone maybe with yellow, but I think the yellow still would have picked up too much of the green. So that's why I used the Vintage Pink. And then this one I have with the tulips that we're going to do today. I was thinking we might try some love potion, since we are February 9th, very close to Valentine's Day. We can use some love potion. Or there's Vivid Violet, which is kind of a similar tone. And then with the love potion, I'll probably use a lighter poppy pink to go with it. But this love potion is kind of in that color right there. So you're looking at, what do you want to pull out? Like, you could do the Vintage Pink and try to pull out tones of orange as well, like a coral, or so you can kind of, this will bend to coral, it will bend to pink, it will go with the violet colors. So not violet, but like this pinky color. You can mix these tones. And you could, again, like if you wanted to pull out the color of the yellow, you could go more of a yellow frame, but today we're gonna try to pull out some of these pinks. And this background, I had wanted to show you that last night because I was on the phone with my son while I was making this, but I had started to make it, and then he he called, and I can't turn away his phone calls, so I didn't end up recording what I was doing. But the background is pretty straightforward. Well, I've been doing mixed media a long time, so maybe I need to show you how to do a background like this. Anyway, I took some background papers. I even have a decor transfer image. And what I mean by that, a decor transfer image, it's these redesigned pieces. Okay. It's like this here. So this is some script, which comes in very, very handy when you're doing mixed media. You always want a little bit of script in the background. And then there's like these butterflies. So these are decor transfers. And the reason that it's shiny is that it has a slick finish. So it's kind of hard to, even if you're spraying on or varnishing, it's going to be hard to disguise the fact that it is slick. And in order to get everything to stick down, you have to use a decoupage product. I'll show you what I used. Okay, so I promise I will do a background to show you how I do it. But I used this instead of gesso. I used this paper texture paste. Yes, this is available on my website. And the soft matte gel. Yes, this is available on my website. Now, there's a shiny version of this too. Soft matte gel has been the flavor for a long time. People don't really want a sheen, but I don't know, things are changing, and right now it's very trendy to have the shiny one. Let me see if I have that handy, so I can show you what that one looks like. I may not have it available. Let's see. I don't know. I don't have it up in my cabinet right this minute, or do I? Okay. All right. So there's two kinds that Prima and Redesign sell. One is this Art Basic Soft Gloss, and the other is called Shine. And I know they're the same product. I know I have the Shine in my website, twife.com. Also, I'll be putting this back in my shop. They temporarily ran out of this, but I'm going to restock. I saw that it's available now. I use this combined with art glitter glue. So I use these in combination to stick down these pieces onto my mixed media. Now, if I'm just gluing wood on wood, I just use this. But if I want a little height, if I want it to lift a little bit, because this is very, very thick, I'll use this product here. It's very, very thick. And I'll mix in the art glitter glue onto the back as well. Because I find that sometimes this doesn't adhere forever. This one adheres forever. So anyway, so that's how this was glued down. And once I had put down the fabric, so Redesign also has this decoupage, they call it decoupage paper, but it's really decoupage fiber. It's not, it's fabric. And so I have pieces of that underneath. I think it's actually the one that I was using has a leopard print in it, but I was using it. There's these cancellation marks on it. So that is behind there, but it's kind of hard to tell now. It's been so layered. So I put on top of the paper, the decor transfers, I used this to adhere it. So you can see some streaks. And you just keep layering this and layering this. And after I did that, I did come back with a palette knife and I put some of this paper texture, imitating like gesso palette work. All right, so once that was fully dry, how did I get the colors in the background? I used some products that I've had for a long time by Lindy's, and again, these are on my website. You also can get them direct from Lindy's if you want, but I have a large number of colors available. So this orange is called Hagswort Orange. The people at Lindy's have a really good sense of humor, so they they come up with the funniest names. I just love it. And then I also used Time Travel Teal, which is this bluish green. I love that color. And then I really, really love Martian Magenta. So you can see that. I just love that color so much. So I started with, this is an old label, but it's a Moon Shadow Mist, whereas these are called Starburst Sprays. The difference is the Moon Shadow Mists have walnut ink in them. This is, I had this in my collection for many, many years, so the labels have changed. These are the new labels. But, so this is a brass color, so it has like a goldish brass mica in it, but it also has walnut ink and dye. So, and these Starburst, they have mica as well. You can see it at the bottom. You have to shake them up really good each time you use them. And then it also has a dye color in it to give it this vibrancy. If it was just the mica, you wouldn't have the lovely color. So it deposits not only the dye, but a little bit of mica shimmer. So that I will show you guys and share it with you. I'll upload it to YouTube after. Okay, so what we need to do is try to get this back out again. This fits so perfectly in here. This is an 8x10 frame that I made, I cut. And this frame was designed, you can, I mean, scallop frames are very easy to make, but I just went ahead and bought this from Chris Howard of Sawdust Makery because it was already ready to go. So it makes it easier, saves me some time. But, you know, if you're a laser cutter, there's a lot of frames that you can make. So you just have to put your head to it, or you can go to the Sawdust Makery and download her frames. So this is a scalloped frame, and it uses a lot of wood because the scallop is pretty fat. So like if you're doing it commercially to sell, you have to take that into consideration because basically it's a quick cut. Cuts really fast, but it uses like 2 sheets of wood. Okay, so the first thing we do is you want to do the back as well. If you work with MDF, well, for one thing, you know, you're going to see the back, so you want to paint this with the Vintage Pink as well. But also, sometimes with MDF, you can get some warping. A lot of times they say do both sides, but I don't really want to do the inside. We'll see how it goes. If you're getting too much warping, you can even come back if you don't want to paint this side and varnish it or do whatever you want to do, just so you don't get too much warpage. I'm using 1/8 inch. If the back piece was 1/4 inch, you would get less warpage. 1/8 inch tends to want to warp a little bit. So I'm going to put the Vintage Pink on the back here, and I'm going to do it here. And you can use a brush. If you use a brush, your brush is going to go over these little cut areas, these little spots in here, and it's going to deposit paint in there. You don't really want that. So what I am going to do is on the back of this, I'm going to use a roller, which, let's see if I have them handy. So I have my ruler, and then I have these. And you can get a version of this from any Home Depot, Lowe's, anything like that. I do have these on my website if you're interested. They're probably going to be a little bit more expensive because they were made by Redesign. So you can get some inexpensive ones. Sherwin-Williams, you know, any of those places. And so I'm going to use this on the back. I'm not going to use it on this. I'll probably just come with a little sponge and sponge that. Like, I'm just going to take my little craft sponge. And because I'm a mixed media artist, I love texture. Some people don't like all the little texture bubbles that you get with using these sponges, but I actually quite like it. So a brush, it's going to want to drip off into these edges. So I would recommend a roller or a sponge for this. So I'm going to prep my paint so I can put my base coat down, and you're going to want 2 coats of this. So I have some Vintage Pink, and I just have a bit of palette paper here. My kit, this roller kit that you can purchase on my website, does actually have a tile, an acrylic tile, and then you just wash the tile off each time. But sometimes I'm too lazy for that, and I know that's probably, well, so I just get a half sheet of palette paper and use that. The acrylic block in some ways is better because it doesn't lift. Sometimes when you're using palette paper and you're going over it with the roller, it wants to lift up. So it's up to you. Like, I used to, in the many years ago, when I was doing acrylics on ceramics, I didn't have access to palette paper. I was living in Malaysia at the time, and I just bought some tiles, some glazed tiles, and they were wonderful for palette, for being my palette, and they would work really good. Like a tile, a rectangular tile would be excellent for your roller. So that is an option as well. Okay, so that needs to dry. Put that out of the way. Now, I was going to just use a little daubing sponge like this, but I am curious. This should work. You would think this would work, and that you wouldn't end up getting drippies off the side. But let me see. It's a heck of a lot faster to do it with a roller. So I think this bottle of Vintage Pink has seen its last days. I just happen to have a new bottle, so I use this so much that I have to order it pretty regularly from Deco Art. Okay, so I'm going to need 2 coats, and 2 coats will be enough because whenever you do it with a roller, it's pretty good coverage. So I am going to do that, and the next time I see you, this will be dry, and I'll be showing you how I did the floating shading of the milk chocolate, and we're going to play with some dry brushing. So I'll see you in a little while. Okay, so I have base coated that. And again, to remind you what this looked like. So this is one of my original pieces of artwork. I haven't created a pattern for it yet. I might do that, but it's a mixed media piece that I did with a echinacea. So this was a picture I had taken from my garden of an echinacea that was kind of on the at the end of its vibrant life. So and then this artwork here, this is from a Sandy McTeer class in her membership group, the Tulips. But I cut them out to be 3D. So anyway, all right, let me set this aside, and then we'll start doing some dry brushing. And so this backside, you really don't need to do anything with it. You can just varnish it and be done with it. If you want it, you could add in shading around the edges, but it isn't really necessary. Okay, so let me get a dry brush, and there are different dry brushes you can use. So that's a softer one. That's the Dynasty 200. Or we can use, oh, everything is falling down. Oh my goodness. I have too much on my desk. Yeah, I was looking for one of the ovals. So that's a Lynn Andrews. So this one is a little bit stiffer. This one's very soft. So you have to control the amount of paint on this one because it's easy to get too much paint. So since we're dry brushing, we need our paper towel as well. So originally I had used, on the other frame, I had used dragon fruit and fuchsia pop. And it takes this muted pink and changes it so it has this subtle hue to it. So this time I wanted to pick out a little bit more of that kind of color, which is a bright violet or a magenta. So we are going to try a little bit of the Love Potion first, I think. So you can see it's got more of the violet tones to it. And I just want to see what it looks like. I'm just going to put it on my palette, which is my silicone pad. So normally I'd get out a piece of palette paper, but I've got to wash all this anyway, so I'm just going to use that as my palette paper. All right, so I'm going to start with this brush, which is a little bit more, it's a little bit stiffer. Let me just see what kind of look we get. So we want to concentrate kind of towards the middle. I mean, you can take it out to the edges if you want. But we're going to kind of concentrate the color to the middle. And you tend to do the shading after you do the dry brushing because you want to incorporate the bit that you dry brushed into or underneath the shading. So when you layer colors with dry brushing, you get some really interesting results. Never be afraid to layer. So this stiffer dry brush will give me a more subtle application. The softer dry brush, you tend to get an application of more color. So in a way, this can give you more control than going with the softer one. It just depends on how you load it up and how much pressure you apply, how much paint is left in your brush. If you're used to a stiffer dry brush, it takes a little bit of time to get used to the softer one too. But I do like the soft one. I use it a lot. And I love oval dry brushes. Sometimes you need a narrow brush, like this is the Josanya. So, and then I also have Mezzalunas, which to me are the stiffest of all of them. I don't use them that much. I find that they're a little scratchy. It tends to be, I was trying to find one for you, tends to be the go-to for most people I know who are dry brushing, but so that one's really thin, but that's not very useful. When you're doing something like this, I really like an oval, and this one will flare out and it will work. But if you're doing anything that's kind of like got circles and stuff, then I just find that an oval dry brush works really well. So you can see some of it is a little bit darker than other areas, and that's fine. Doesn't have to be exactly the same. Okay, I'm going to try this Vivid Violet. And I'm not changing my brush. I'm just adding the new color. Oh, I made a heart there. So initially when you put this down, you're going to have a hybrid color. And as you move along, it's going to become more and more of the current color, which is the Vivid Violet. Just kind of getting that look. I do think that helped. I think combining the colors is a better look than just using the Love Potion. do like that. So I'm trying to smooth it out instead of just having it in the circles. I'm kind of moving it out. Okay, so now we need to do some floating shading. Like I said, it's a cross between shading and floating because it's not really a highlight and it's not really a shade because this color, the milk chocolate, is a lighter shade. So let me get my shading brush. Okay, so I use a lot of milk chocolate. There's a bit of it there. I just like the tone. It's not going to replace when you want a really good dark shade and you're doing something like burnt umber. That's going to be, this isn't supposed to replace that. This is supposed to do something completely different. And pink always goes really nice with chocolate. Well, let's be honest, everything goes really nice with chocolate. But yeah, pink is very suited to chocolate tones. And you see how it just warms it up just so quick. And, if I was using asphaltum or burnt umber, it would overwhelm it. Just overwhelm it. And there's nothing to say you couldn't actually do like white or warm white on the edges and then maybe milk chocolate on the inside of the frame or something like that. So like if you wanted it to be more, have that white weathered look to it. And the other thing I could have done, and I didn't do it, I still could, is I can sand the edges as well and make it a little bit more distressed. But I don't know if that's what I want for this. So you're going to get some of that streakiness and unevenness, and yes, that's what you want. You want it to have that kind of appearance. Some people don't go back and forth with their shading where they flip their brush over, but I do. Not always, but so, because there's paint on the other side as well. Might as well use it up. And again, if you're floating or shading and you're using an angled brush like this, you're dipping the toe, well, you're putting your brush bristles into the water, and then I use a sponge to remove the excess. And then I don't use a paper towel because it's very dry in Colorado and a paper towel takes off too much moisture. So I dipped that the toe of my brush into the milk chocolate, and then I conditioned the paint a little bit on my palette so that it mixed into the bristles. Okay. Almost to the end here. Am I going to make it without reloading or not? I probably should have reloaded that one. Okay, I'll do it one more time. Okay. All right, so you could leave it like that, but I'm going to do the inside as well. So you don't have to do the inside. It's, you know, whatever look you think you like best. But I am going to go with more milk chocolate and do the inside edge. Now, if you want it to be darker, more milk chocolate, then you can go around everything a second time. So that's just up to you and your preference if you want to do that. So I kind of like it the way it is, but you certainly could come back with more. Okay, let's see what this looks like. I do want to, since I've already finished using that. I'm loving that. I do like that a lot. Okay, I like that a lot. Everything fits a little differently now that the wood's wet. So if I can't get it on, I'll have to sand a little bit more around the edges because I got a little bit of gesso on the edges of this piece. Yeah, I really do like that. I don't think. Yeah, this is really pretty. Does it have enough of the pop? I don't know. It's very subtle. Do I want it to have more of the pop? I don't know. But I do like it. Okay, so on the other one, I did the dots, and I really do like the dots. The other thing you can do is if you have little jewels, you can put in little jewels, and I think that's what I'm going to do on this one. So I have these little jewels for nail art, so I'm going to go find them. I have glued all this together, and now we need to figure out what we want to put for dots or accents. There's not a lot of white in here. There is some white, so it might look interesting, like with a warm white. However, I was going to look at some of my nail jewels. Yeah. So all of these are all little rhinestones, crystals for nail art. I've never used them for nail art. I do, as you can tell, put polish on my nails, but I have not used these before for nail art. I've only used them for my art projects. So I have this dusky pink. I wonder what these would look like. Are they gonna show up enough? So I have two different types. This one has a little bit of gummy stuff at the end. So that's from Silhouette. And then this one, you can get these type from Amazon. They have little wax on the end. I will try the wax one first. That's the one I usually use on this. The gummy one definitely sticks. So that's the pink. And then, let's see, we're going to compare these and try to figure out which ones we like the best. These are kind of rainbowy, which isn't bad. Although this has kind of got warm tones, and then this doesn't. But let me put one out so we can see, so we can compare. So it really does kind of pick up sort of a rainbowy effect. Yeah, it's hard to tell since it's nighttime. What I'm seeing with my eyes, the camera's not able to pick up. So when I was working earlier in the sunlight, you got a better idea of colors, but this is not doing that. Okay, so this is definitely much more amber, and that is looking clear on the camera, but that's the pink one. Now I do have gold ones, so I put in all this gold orange glass glitter. I don't know what will occur up. Well, that definitely has more of a match to that. Now it's amber, but it's also rainbow. It's kind of a rainbow effect. So they're very close. So this Let me get a bigger one of these. All right. Well, it's all very interesting. And it's going to look completely different during the day. So I really don't know which one I like better. Whoops, and there they went. There they went off the edge. just struggling tonight. I've been working all day. I'm kind of frazzled. And things just aren't going the way I want them to go. So I'm going to look at this in a different light, and I'm going to make a decision. Okay, so I went and I tried these in a different room that had really good light. And these are reading too silver, so they're clashing with this glitter. They're just too silver, so they're out. And then this is the straightforward amber gold, and it's good, and it would work. But there's something interesting because this has the rainbow effect to the amber, and it's kind of making it look a little bit more grungy, which is what I want. So I am going with these. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video a sec while I get all the jewels out, because it's quite a fiddly process, and there can be cursing. So as I get angry, I can't pick these things up. So I'm going to gather all these little pieces together, and then when I'm ready to glue them down, I'll come back on. So I'm going to use my art glitter glue to put them all down. So I will do that. I will be back shortly. I've gotten all my little jewels on now, and instead of putting 3 on every single one, I thought that I would put them on the corners. I just thought it would be too much. When I did the dots with gold paint, I did 3 on each, but I just think because these are so shimmery, and I just thought it would be too much. But you can see, you can either dot it with whatever paint color you want, or you can use jewels or glitter, however you want to do that. But so that's pretty much it. Since I've lost the sunshine, you can't even see like the gradation of color in my frame. It's kind of all washed out. So what I'm going to do before I post this video is I'm going to take pictures of this in the sunlight when you can really get a good sense of what it looks like, and I will have that with the video. But anyway, this was just a kind of a simple video today, just to show you what you can do for creating frames, and the frames don't just have to be brown or white or tan or gray. They can be more vibrant depending on what colors you have in your artwork. So thank you so much for watching. This is Kathy McAllister, Tea Wife Creations. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.